Heat and Bulls, Silvy. I said it to Solana at the beginning of the show. This is for the championship of the world. Is all of Chicago ready?
This is this championship of the mediocre, isn't it? I mean, I tell you, we were texting last night, you and I, and it's like number 7 versus number 10 to play the Milwaukee Bucks. It doesn't get any better than this. And of course, we know, and especially you guys know, after Pat Riley has built many, many good teams down there, you know, we are the king of the mediocre basketball teams here in Chicago. So we know a good mediocre game when we see one, that this is what mediocrity is all about right here. I mean, It doesn't get any better. This is the mediocre bowl.
It feels like it. This is, but you know what? You got to aspire to something, and I aspire to be every now and then in a championship of the mediocre world game, and we're gonna get it tomorrow night. I'm watching last night, and my family, my brother still lives in Chicago. My nephews were in all last week, and they're big Bulls fans. Is everyone in Chicago done with the current construct of that Bulls team? Let's say they beat Miami on Friday. I don't think they will, but let's say they beat Miami on Friday. They go on, they play Milwaukee. Is everyone done regardless of whatever the Bulls do?
90% of the people are done. There's always that 10% fan base who believes, the miracle is going to happen. Maybe they can go on a run. DeMar is still really good, and maybe Zach finally plays up to capabilities, and Vooch is still pretty good, and maybe they'll live up to what they were supposed to be built to. But this has been a miserable season. Like, even last year, like they were the 6th seed, there was some fun with them. This has been the definition of miserable. It is as bad of a place as you ever want to be in the NBA. And they were another show on our station, and we've done this before, was having a conversation earlier about, like, you look at that Oklahoma City team, and like that's a spot if you're going to be in the middle where you want to be, with a ton of draft capital, a ton of young players who have a higher ceiling. The Bulls are just mid with if they make the postseason, they lose their first-round pick to the Orlando Magic because of the Vooch trade. They're going to end up giving up 2 lottery picks, and Wendell Carter for Vucevic, who's another mediocre player, like a mid-level player. They're the definition of NBA hell, not going anywhere. So, while this Miami Heat team got to the NBA Finals in the bubble, and Jimmy led them to the conference finals last year, there's been some hope. There's been some real, possibilities of getting to some places. They're not perfect, but with this Bulls team, they won 1 playoff game last year against the Bucks, and after that, the games that they lost to the Bucks, they lost by an average of like 18 points per game. So this is not a good basketball team. So yes, we've been done with this Bulls team for a while.
Because the Heat are 5.5-point favorites tomorrow night. But there's a weird thing going on in Miami. Now, this is not by any stretch the majority of the fan base, but even like in the Sun Sentinel today and Ira Winderman's column, it's one emailer after another saying Miami should lose Friday. They have a slim chance to end up in the draft lottery, and this would show Pat Riley. And again, this is a minority of Heat fans, but this would show Pat Riley that this team needs to be blown up, or at least there can't be any untouchables the way that we thought Jimmy or Bam or Tyler might be untouchables. Plenty of people shouting, yeah, they need to lose Friday, put this season out of its misery. I'm imagining that's the prevailing feeling in Chicago. The Bulls would just as soon rather lose on Friday, fans.
Here's the problem, and I told you about the Vooch deal. So if they lose, the only way the Bulls keep their pick is if they finish in the top 4 in the lottery. That's how bad that Vooch deal to Orlando was. So if the Bulls do get in the lottery and they lose this game to the Heat, the Bulls have to get a top 4 pick, and obviously the odds being at the back end of the lottery and not being one of the worst teams of getting the top 4 isn't great. You have a chance. But if they would finish like 6th or 7th in the draft order, the pick still goes to Orlando. So I would still rather take a chance and finish in the top 4. But the Bulls are honestly, like, they have no ticket out of here. So I understand why some of the Heat fans say that. Like Jimmy's 34 now, and I love Jimmy. Like, playoff Jimmy is great, and he wasn't great in this last game, and your rebounding sucked in the last game. And I do believe the Bulls could go in there and win. You guys are ripe to be beaten, even though I've told you that this Bulls team is miserable. But this Bulls team, as far as like any sort of future, they're just completely stuck right in the middle. I'm miserable with them.
I'm sorry, Silvy. I mean, you sound a little miserable. But it's funny you mentioned that about the Heat being ripe to get beaten, because the last time we talked to you, I think it was around Super Bowl time or maybe a little bit earlier. But you were praising Jimmy, and you were saying that in Chicago, the level of respect Jimmy Butler still has over there is immense, and that you still viewed this Heat team while they were struggling, they would figure it out. So, I'm just wondering, like, how do people view this Heat team? Is it another miserable team who's having another miserable season, or is would it be an upset, in other words, if Chicago came into Miami and won? Because, I mean, the Heat haven't beaten Chicago this season. They're 0-3 against DeMar and Levine and Vooch, who historically dominates the Miami Heat.
You could have him. I'll give him to you. Like, I will move him I will drive. When back in the day when I was growing up in Skokie, and that was not Highland Park, where Hoch grew up. We drove to Florida. We did not have the money for an airplane ticket, so we drove from the Chicago suburbs to Florida. I will drive Vooch to Miami, and you guys can have him.
Like your own personal Rudy Gobert. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, he is. It's a good comp. But I'm surprised that I thought you guys would turn it around more so than you guys did. It seems like you guys just sort of plateaued. And like Jimmy has talked a good game. The thing with Jimmy has and I've always told you guys in the scouting report about Jimmy, and I don't know exactly how you guys feel about him. Jimmy, like, the nickname that I gave him was Jimmy Diva. Jimmy was always a diva here. I loved Jimmy because when he came out of Marquette, Jimmy averaged 3 points a game in his first year here, and he was known as the Kobe stopper, and he stopped Carmelo. And he was just a hard-working guy out of Marquette who then all of a sudden just went to work and became an offensive guy out of the blue. And he was a self-made guy. And then next thing you knew, once he experienced some of the good life, he became a diva. But without the hard work, he put in the work to get it. So he's always had the diva side once he became good. And he turns some people in Chicago off. But what I've always loved about Jimmy is he doesn't get his due because he's not going to put up the Zach LaVine numbers in the regular season. If you look at Zach LaVine numbers in the box score, he's going to get you 25 a night, and we've called it empty calorie scoring. But when Jimmy goes to work in the postseason, like last year, and he would average 26, 27 points a game, and he'd win you playoff games, and he'd drop 47 in an important playoff game to get you out of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Those are just games that not a lot of players in the NBA would do. And I think people have short memories, and they still don't name him on the top players of the NBA, and I think it's unfortunate. But for me, for somebody who remembers Jimmy from where he came from, I'll always give him that due. And I will always put him in the top 10, top 12 guys I want on my team when you are in an elimination game.
Silvy is with us from ESPN 1000 in Chicago. He's beloved down here. I would say that the prevailing notion here in Miami about Jimmy Butler is, look what the Heat have done to him this season. Last season, again, they were a step away from, going to the NBA Finals. This season, they were expecting, more brilliant play from Max Strus and from Gabe Vincent, and more than what you got from Bam for most of the season. And they lost PJ Tucker. One of the knocks was teams in the East got better this season. The Heat were hoping to just get better internally or keep up the level of play from guys who maybe you kind of knew wouldn't be able to keep up that kind of level of play. Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, and so on. And so I think a lot of Heat fans, we look at Jimmy Butler. Nobody encapsulates that Heat DNA more than Jimmy Butler. He, for me, is the next coming of Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade was Mr. Heat, still is Mr. Heat, even though he went to the Bulls and the Cavs and is now with Utah. But Jimmy Butler encapsulates all that, but they have to get something better around him. The problem is, much like your Bulls, they don't have much capital to do so.
Yeah, and Hoch, the bad part about all of this on both of our teams, and more so with you guys, and Riley's built it more regularly, certainly than here, is that the East is so bad. Not that there's like a great team in the West. I think it's wide open, and probably Phoenix is, a conference to lose. But like the East, other than Boston, like who's great in the East? You know what I mean? Like, and then for Miami to finish 7th, I think you're right about letting Jimmy down. It's kind of a dog crap conference, and that's what's driven me. Like for the Bulls to finish 10th, are you kidding me? Like, yes, they've missed Lonzo Ball. They don't have a point guard, but to finish 10th in this conference, that's shameful. And I think both of our teams have that in common, that they have underachieved in really a bad conference.
I got Heat and Bulls tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Kaseya Center in Miami. You can hear the game here on 560 QAM. Should we make a wager? A little Joe's Stone Crab versus a little Lou Malnati's?
You know what's so funny is I am going tomorrow for dinner with my wife, date night, and I'm not breaking plans to go watch.
Get out of here!
Playing.
Really?
And we're going to Joe's. We're going to Joe's.
You're going to the one in Chicago.
Here in Chicago.
That's funny.
Isn't that funny? So I'll put it on the iPhone at least in the second. So, but am I getting points? Can I get the spread, or are we going straight up?
No, I'll give you the 5.5.
Okay, good.
And if the game is over before your meal's over, I'll Venmo you the bill. You just send me a picture of the bill.
No, you're not. No, we're not. I'm not like paying for a big dinner. Like, let's do a pizza bet.
I was gonna say, well, obviously you don't care that much about the game. You're going out to dinner. You're not even watching the game. Like what? So what are you excited about? The Bears, Justin Fields?
Yes.
Really?
I think they're doing it right. I think they're finally building something. And I'm excited about the Cubs. But like this town, Hoch, it's got 3 teams that are rebuilding. The Cubs are rebuilding. The Hawks are rebuilding. The Bears are rebuilding. And then the 2 teams that are like not rebuilding, the White Sox and the Bulls, are in no man's land. It's a crap town right now. This is terrible. So I'm not like betting any sort of a Joe's meal on the Chicago Bulls. Like I'll bet a pizza. Like I'll send you a Chicago pizza. I don't think Barnaby ships where you like it.
Oh, if they did, man, I'd be their best customer.
Well, I'll do a Lou Malnati's pizza or something like that, or a couple Lou's, something like that.
All right. I'll throw a couple of Joe's Stone Crab key lime pies your way.
Oh, those are good.
They're good. You mentioned the Blackhawks. We have to thank you. Solana, we need to thank Silvy. Your Blackhawks going into Pittsburgh and beating the Penguins. I know the Blackhawks didn't want to. You go into Pittsburgh, beat the Penguins, you launch the Panthers into the playoffs.
I mean, can you believe it? Yeah, I mean, we did you guys a solid, but it was kind of like when the Houston Texans beat the Colts and they screwed themselves out of the number one pick. Like the Hawks are trying for the number one pick, and they go out and they beat the Penguins. It's crazy.
I mean, there was zero chance that they were going to beat the Penguins in Pittsburgh. That was wild, man. So,
are you guys a big hockey show? You guys a big hockey show?
We love our Panthers. We did the show out there Monday, and then I'm going out there tonight. Final game. If they beat Carolina tonight, they'll avoid Boston in the first round. So yeah, we do a lot of hockey.
That's good.
Yeah,
I love it. Tonight's. I don't know if you saw this. Jonathan Taves. They've announced it's his last game with the Blackhawks tonight.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
We'll get some love.
Yeah, he's a future Hall of Famer.
No doubt. All right. There you go. Marc Silverman, ESPN 1000 in Chicago. Waddle and Silvy, hugely popular radio program, and appreciate it. And we'll have a little wager riding on tomorrow's Heat Bulls game.
Sounds good. Always a pleasure to talk to you guys. All the best to you guys down there as well.
Silvy, should when I see Vooch tomorrow, should I tell him his friend Marc Silverman says hello?
He knows. Like it's people think I'm unfair to him. He's just Carlos Boozer, just wrapped in a different package.
All right. Well, you know his take on him. See you, Silvy.
I'm good. I'll send you guys a picture. I've got a picture of Vooch that you guys will enjoy.
All right, text it to me. All right, see you, brother.
All right, see you.